Hello, it's me, Meej. I'm in a hat because I forgot to wash my hair, okay? We're not going to talk about it anymore. Today's video is very dumb, very silly, but what else do you expect from me? Basically, these are just things that I've noticed in Genshin that are mildly interesting, you know, just whatever things. Some of them are actually little tips that you might not know, so that might be helpful, but most of them are just kind of dumb. Anyway, this will be a quick one today, so let's just get into the video. Alright, so this first one is really dumb, but it makes me happy every time I hear it. It is the sound Lampgrass makes. I don't know if you've ever listened to the Lampgrass, but it makes a weird little sound when you go near it, and it just brings me joy, so let me just show you what I mean. Did you hear it? It sounds like an old lady wagging her chain purse around, like grandma's gonna give you some coins so you go down to the store and buy a piece of candy, because she doesn't know that things are way more expensive now and you can't get anything with a few cents. But that's fine. That's thing number one. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is another little thing that makes me happy, and it has to do with these boars over here. So we've all seen the boars, right? You know, they hit you when you are standing still and it's annoying. But if you go past these big boys over here, there is a little baby boar waiting in the grass. Do you see it? There it is. Look how small it is! Ah, it's so small! Anyway, I pass this little boar every day on my artifact route, and it just makes me happy. You can't catch it. Oh, I guess I scared him. Bye, little guy. You cannot catch the baby boar with your ubiquity net or anything. I think you can kill it from meat, but why would you? What are you, a monster? Alright, the next thing that is mildly interesting is loaches. You can see this little guy right behind me in the back. If you pick up a loach, it gives you a Loach Pearl. And fun fact about the Loach Pearls, they're useless. They have no use in the game. No character uses them. They're not used in any recipes or any craftables. They're completely useless. Yet, every day, I grab them. So I currently have 484 Loach Pearls. I don't know why, I just like to collect things, and it feels good to have them despite the fact that they're useless. But if they ever get you someday, who's gonna be ready? Me. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is slightly more useful. It is about your ley lines and how they affect your daily rock positions. So if you don't rock farm every day, I recommend you do it, or at least try to do it if you have the time, because it'll help you catch up or stay ahead of the game when it comes to ascending weapons, so that you can turn those blue crystal ores you get into enhancement ores for your weapons. But you can look at your ley lines to know where your rocks are going to be. So just a really brief explanation on how this works in Mondstadt. You'll talk to Wagner, and he will give you 3 locations for where your daily rocks could be. There's an additional 3 locations that he doesn't mark. And one of the ways you can know about where your unmarked rocks are is by looking at your ley lines. So today mine actually happened to work out well. This is one of the ley line locations that tells you where an unmarked spot's gonna be. So if you see your ley lines looking like this, really close to each other, right outside Mondstadt, you know that one of your unmarked rock locations is going to be right over here, near the Thousand Wind Temples. So Wagner will not mark that location. He never marks this one, and he never marks the one up here and the one in Stonebearer Mountains. So you know by looking at your ley lines that if they're looking like this, one of them's going to be here. And then he'll mark the ones over here, and that way you'll know you'll have to hit up the 3 he marked as well as the 2 additional unmarked locations, because you already got one of them over here. The most convenient ley line location is when your Mora ley line's down here and your XP ley line's up here somewhere. When your ley lines look like that, you know that your 3 unmarked locations are going to be in this area. The first one's going to be here, the second one's going to be up here in Stormbearer, and the third one's going to be here in the mountains. So that's an ideal location, because then you don't have to go to all of these locations looking for the unmarked ones, since you already got your unmarked locations, right? Then you just have to go to the 3 locations that Wagner marked, and it's way easier than when your ley lines are not over here and you just have to hit up all these locations because the pattern just told you that, you know, your location's not going to be up here. So the only time your rocks aren't going to be in the Wolven Dome area is if you have a ley line in Stormterror Lair or Wagner marks Stormterror Lair, then that's how you'll know that all your rocks are in Stormterrors. Leeway works similarly. If your 2 ley lines are bundled up over here, then you'll know you'll have to hit up this rock location over here, as well as the one over here. Now, if your ley lines are over here, then you'll also know Master Zhang is going to mark your locations up here in this area. Leeway is a little different. There's going to be 5 marked locations and 5 unmarked locations. You kind of have to keep track in your head about which ones you hit up so that you don't go to unnecessary locations. So in my experience, the rocks usually are here daily, and what Zhang will do is he will mark rocks over here in this location. So that means I will check this location first because there's 4 mining spots over here. So I'll hit up 1, 2, 3, and there's another one over here, number 4. And I'll start here. And I know if this one has rocks, then all 3 of these are also going to have rocks. So there's 4 of my daily spots right there that are unmarked. He never marks this location. And usually what happens is he will mark one of these 2 locations, but they will both have rocks. So that unmarked one will be your 5th unmarked spot. And then you'll know that you can just hit up the marked locations. Okay, so I'm not as familiar with the Inazuma ores, but I do know that there is a major and minor island system. So what they do is you can look at your islands and see which one has the Mora ley line, and that is your major island for the day. That means that the 6 mining locations on that island will all have daily ores, and then you just need to hit up 2 more locations on a minor island, and I believe the minor island is determined by your XP ley line. So that's how you'll know your major minor islands. There's also NPCs you can talk to really sort it out and get your system down. I'm not as familiar with that, but I will leave a link to a nice guide that explains it a little more in depth. But anyway, that's a more useful, mildly interesting. Your ley lines can help you find your rocks. All right, next little useful tip is this thing right here, the seed dispensary. Now, I'm a little ashamed to say I didn't know what this was actually for until a few weeks ago, and I've had it since it launched. So I just thought Madame Ping gave us this to hold the seeds that we bought from Tubby, but I was informed that if you are holding this in your item slot, that any seed you pick up that has a plantable seed version, you will get 1 of the item you picked and 1 seed. So then you can fill up all your seeds without buying them from Tubby. And I had no idea. All this time I'm buying seeds and I don't even have to, I can just farm them myself. I'll just give you an example of some seeds I'm not full up on. Let's go grab some silk flower seeds. Okay, so make sure your seed dispensary is equipped. And as you can see, I'll go pick a silk flower. Boop. So I got 1 silk flower and 1 silk flower seed. Boop. So you can go around, grab the flowers and seeds you need without buying them from Tubby, which saves you a little bit of currency that you can use for things that are more useful. All right, so while we're on the topic of gadgets, let's talk about the Parametric Transformer. I feel like a lot of people forget about this, and it's quite useful. So for me personally, I put in the magical crystal chunks because I rock farm every day. I get these crystal chunks that I make into ores, but then I have so many of these magical crystal chunks. So this is what I feed into my transformer. If you're early game, you might not have as many materials to spare, that's fine. But for endgame players who aren't doing this, like, it's good to get on it. It can give you some weapon enhancement material, some Mora, some XP books. Like, it's a dandy little thing. So you can only use it once a week. That's why mine still has a 3-day cooldown. I'll film when I can use it, and I'll show you how to charge it up. But that's where the next tip comes in. So you can only use elemental attacks to charge this thing up. So for the longest time, I was just waiting on my skills cooldown of my party, and I would just hit it with a skill, wait for it. Hit it with another skill, wait for that to cool down. And it just took a while because you're waiting on the cooldown of your skills. But then I learned you can just use Mona's dash to charge this thing up. And if you don't have Mona, then you can use Sayu as well. Her skill works, and it goes on long enough where you can charge the transformer fully and not have to wait on any cooldown. I assume that Ayaka's dash is also the same as Mona's, where you can just charge it up. I don't have her, so I can't confirm, but I would assume it works the same way. So there's a little tip for you. Use your transformers, number 1. Number 2, charge them easily. Mona, Ayaka, Sayu. If you don't have any of those characters, sorry. This is just a quick little tip that might make it easier to move people around on your team. So in case you didn't know, you can just click and hold on a character, and then you can move them to a different slot in your party. And I just find this personally very useful because then I don't have to click on it and like rearrange everyone, you know what I mean? All right, the next little thing, I'm sure that a lot of people know this, but if you're like me and you just didn't know it for whatever reason, you can actually sell artifacts in your artifact inventory. I don't recommend it unless you're in a pinch. I've actually only done it once because I literally had no Mora and I needed some Mora. But I would just recommend feeding those artifacts into other artifacts. But it is good to know that in case you want to, you can just click on this little garbage can over here, pick a few artifacts, and you can destroy them. And it'll tell you how much Mora you'll make from destroying them. The higher rarities give you more Mora, but keep in mind you cannot destroy the gold artifacts. All right, the next little tidbit is regarding Hangouts. So thankfully I figured this out for myself early on just by clicking. You do not have to start a Hangout all over if you want to find multiple endings. All you do is you click on the Hangout you want to go to, you go to the ending that you ended off on or that you want to find a different ending to, you just click on the one before that, and then you just continue playing. But that still doesn't make me want to do my Hangouts. All right, next thing I want to talk about is the Serenity Teapot. and clipping. So if you enjoy this Renna teapot and you've been using it and building things in it, then you might have heard of clipping, or you might already be using clipping. I think that most people know about it, but when I first heard about it, I thought it was a lot more complicated than it actually is. So let me just show you how it works. So this is my Inazuma teapot. You can see my big mansion over here, and how I made this is by clipping. So clipping is actually quite easy. It's not as difficult as it seems. Basically how it works is you'll want the red square around a piece of furniture to turn blue so that you can place it there. Now the game doesn't let you put pieces of furniture on top of each other that aren't supposed to be stacked on top of each other. For example, this well into this tree, I get this red square that tells me, no, 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 that cannot go there. So what you have to do is bring it to an area where you could put it, where it's blue, and then you just hold on to it and you move it really, really fast between the red and the blue, and you just wait for it to turn blue, and just like that, I'll be able to plop that right there. Easy. So as you can see, I've done this a lot all over my teapot. I will say that it can cause your teapot to be a little glitchy at times, or to load a little slower. I mean, you're not supposed to clip, right? But it makes things look so much better. Like, it's really the only way to make things look good sometimes. So there you go. It's easy to do if you want to try it. Alright, the last thing I want to talk about is in this area down here. Now, you do have to do an Inazuma World quest to access this area. It's the little hole below the big Sakura tree. But once you have accessed it, you'll notice that there's Sakura blooms lying around here. And first of all, in case you didn't know, don't feel stupid for not knowing this, because I feel like I did not know this for the longest time. You have to use Electro on these Sakura blooms to collect them. Like, I just thought they were dust in the air and that it was a decor thing, but no, you can actually just trigger them and then you'll be able to collect them. So that's like a first mini tip in case you didn't know, because I didn't. But the real tip is actually over here. You'll see this big tree, you'll see one Sakura bloom there, one Sakura bloom behind, but there's actually a hidden Sakura bloom right inside this tree right here. Do you see it a little bit coming out? So just stand close to it, it triggers it, and bam, you can just grab it. So there's actually 3 little Sakura blooms over here. I just found this up by accident one day because I was clicking around and I noticed that I had gotten one inside the tree. So that's just a little tidbit if you need to collect them for Ayaka or possibly an upcoming character or for recipes. There's one hiding inside this tree. It is very sneaky. There you go. Okay, sorry. Okay, and that is it. I hope you enjoyed this mildly interesting tour of dumb little things I've noticed in Genshin Impact. If some of them helped you out, then that's great. If you already knew everything, then that's great too. And if you have any other tips, actually, then let me know, because I don't know a lot in this game still, even as an endgame player, so we're always learning every day. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Feel free to check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Meijin, MEEJIIN. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, do whatever. Do none of that. Doesn't matter to me. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Let me yum up these Onikabuto. Give them to me, yum. I am Ito, and I'm gonna have a full house of Onikabuto.